All right, this is part two. If you haven't watched part one, go back one and listen to the first part because it's going to all fall in line with each other. There's four signs a relationship has emotionally ended, even if people still care about each other. Number one, the conversations turn into defensive or defense instead of understanding. Every discussion becomes about who is right rather than how each person feels, and that's not good for a relationship. Number two, one person keeps trying to repair things while the other person pulls away. This creates emotional push and pull. And that's not good. Push and pull, push and pull. One person's trying, the other one's pulling. One's pushing, one's pulling. Another thing is social media or outside validations becomes louder than a relationship. People that are defensive or dismissive have a tendency to put it on social media, talk with their friends or family, and get attention and affirmation from other people that's starting to happen outside the relationship instead of inside the relationship. And that is destruction of a relationship. And peace starts feeling better than trying to fix things. So you start realizing that the constant emotional tension isn't what love is supposed to feel like. So you start to back off. You start to say, okay, if you don't understand my feelings, you don't understand my pain that you're causing, if you want to be defensive or dismissive and not, be accountable and understand what you're doing to me, then that person will eventually start backing off. Now, what typically happens at that point is, let's say that you're dating each other. What typically most likely happen at that point, the person that's defensive or dismissive, they're most likely going to block you from social media. And that happens more often than not. It actually tells you something important about their emotional state, okay? Number one, they're emotionally overloaded. The conversation between you two is too heavy, and blocking is a way to create, distance quickly. It also controls the narrative. It stops you from seeing or responding to the post while they're emotionally high. And it also does avoidance. Instead of resolving a conversation, they shut the door on it. Now, none of those are mean. None of those mean that your message and your feelings that you're giving to them were wrong. It usually means the emotions around a situation are too intense for them to deal with at that moment when you're going through this. So the most important thing to remember if you're in this type of situation is dignity, calmness, and don't attack. That is the most important thing, because if you do that, it's going to create more conflict, and it's going to take the conversation into another spider web, basically, of problems, okay? When somebody's defensive and dismissive and not accountable, they're going to create a million spider webs. They're going to create webs everywhere, and it's just going to be, it's going to be crazy. So what I would recommend is, end it with dignity and calmness, because it removes the conflict. It shows maturity, and it does not chase them. It still handles the practical issues, and the only thing that's the problem is the original issue was never resolved. However, you don't need to explain it no more. You don't need to defend yourself no more. You've explained it once. If they don't hear it, then that means they're not genuinely interested in your relationship. And that means you have to figure out what you're doing next to keep your peace and your dignity. Now, let's say if you did get blocked, hypothetically speaking, on social media, blocking someone during a breakup or conflict is often temporary. It's temporary emotional behavior. It's not always permanent. People frequently unblock once the emotions settle down. But the most attractive and powerful position you can take right now is calm, silence, and focusing on your next chapter in life. That is the most important thing. You already know that they're defensive and dismissive. They're not accountable. They're not going to apologize. They're going to deflect it back upon you. So you need to already subconsciously and consciously prepare yourself that is never going to change, because that is that type of person. There's nothing wrong with that. That is who they are. It's the dynamics of a relationship. It's two different people trying to make a relationship. And if you want a long-lasting relationship, you have to both want that long-lasting relationship, or otherwise it won't happen. So if you are still watching it this far, and let's say you got blocked on your social media, because I've been hearing this, and like I said, I've experienced this in my lifetime as well. When someone blocks a person they've been emotionally involved with, it often follows a predictable emotional cycle. Not every situation is identical, but these stages that I'm going to mention are surprisingly often. There's going to be an emotional surge. Right after the conflict, the emotions spike: anger, frustration, hurt, and feeling misunderstood. Blocking becomes a quick way to regain control of emotions and a situation. It's less about you at that moment, okay? It's not about you. It's more about them trying to calm their own feelings and control their own emotions. Justification is going to be next. After blocking a person, the person often reinforces their decision internally by thinking things like, I needed to do that. He doesn't understand me. She doesn't understand me, whatever, he or she. This is better for me. This stage helps avoid feeling guilty or conflicted. And then could be emotional quiet. After sometimes hours, days, weeks, sometimes even longer, the emotional intensity drops. During that stage, people often start reflecting more calmly about what happens. Sometimes curiosity kicks in, like wondering what the other person is doing, reading messages, thinking about the good moments, thinking about everything that you did for them, all the stuff they said you never done for them, or sitting there thinking about, man, I should have listened to their feelings and their thoughts and why I hurt them. Maybe I wouldn't be in this position. So they're going to start having an emotional quiet period where they're starting to rethink and reevaluate their actions. Then there might be a little bit of reconsideration. That's when people sometimes unblock you, reach out, or check in, indirectly, basically. Not always, but it happens more often than people realize. They may test the waters with something neutral like, hope you're doing okay. Did you get your stuff figured out? Or how are you doing? And etc. And then last thing is the resolution. Eventually, one or two things happen. Number one, the connection that you guys have was solely to restart into something new in a form, or both people emotionally detach and move forward. Now, the biggest key that most people, the biggest mistake that most people make when someone blocks them, they panic and they try to send multiple messages. They call repeatedly. They defend themselves again. That usually pushes the other person even further away. The strongest move is actually calm silence and focusing on yourself. And this is something I have learned firsthand. And this is something, like I said, I've been in long-lasting relationships, and this is something I've learned firsthand that I've also counseled with people on. And I want to make sure that this message is being spoken clearly to both men and women that are in this type of push-pull dynamic type of relationship. And you know what? The biggest thing is sometimes people with the biggest hearts, they stay too long in situations where communication and respect are not balanced out. That is the most important thing. When you have a big heart, you continue to stay there, and it continues to deplete your energy. It continues to, the time's up on this one. We're going to go to part 3. This is pretty cool. I've never done 3 parts like this, but I really want to get this message out there to those that need to hear it. Like, subscribe, comment. This is number 2 video. I'm getting ready to do the number 3. I will upload them all tonight.